Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the press conference that was not going to be a press conference. I'm sure the invitations that you previously received mentioned that we were going to be holding this at the beach. And then we were tracking the weather forecast in Amsterdam last week, and discretion being the better part of valor. So all I need to do today is introduce our new CEO, who I'm sure you've seen the releases on. And Eric's going to introduce himself to you and give you a view of SAM and where we think we're going.
I'm Eric Cooney. While I am new to SAM as of 3 months ago, I did formerly work in the media tech sector. SAM is actually my third CEO role. Previously, I was the chief executive officer for a company in the sector, Tandberg Television, and led Tandberg Television in valuation terms from about $100 million valuation up through the point of acquisition by the Ericsson Group. Ericsson bought the company for about $1.4 billion. I then stayed on with Ericsson for about a year after the acquisition. And then I left the media tech sector to take a CEO role with a cloud hosting IT services company, which, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I find quite germane to my now return to the media tech sector with SAM, given the recent experience I had with the cloud IT services sector and watching many other industries migrate to the cloud, now returning to the media entertainment tech sector, just at the point, from my vantage, where this industry is about to, with vigor, make the shift to the cloud. I feel, frankly, quite excited to be joining SAM at this stage. So why did I join SAM? Maybe a relevant perspective for you. From the outside in, my view on SAM is really pretty straightforward. I have had success both with Tandberg Television and with my IT infrastructure services company, creating value with companies based on a compellingly competitive, differentiated technology. So in short, some of the world's greatest development engineering talent in their specific domains of expertise being quite successful at understanding where the market may be headed in terms of innovative technology, and being, as I like to say, first to market with best-in-class technologies in our areas of domain expertise. I think Tandberg Television executed on that plan quite successfully. I think my IT services company did as well. And from the outside in, prior to joining SAM, my view was this company, frankly, given the breadth and scope of products and services the company has, from Quantel, from Snell, from ProBell, that I was really very impressed with exactly that, the engineering expertise and my view of its innovative technological history. The second reason I joined SAM was because of the brand reputation. I'm sure you'll all have opinions and perspectives on this, but my view was SAM is and has been very well regarded in the media tech sector for many years. So I viewed that combination of great engineering expertise and a history of being innovative and first to market with best-in-class technologies, combined with the brand reputation, as a quite compelling, opportunistic time to join the company. The other dynamic, though, not specifically related to SAM, but more specific to the market, my view is there are some fairly clear, fairly compelling drivers for the industry today. Of course, the shift to IP, the adoption of 4K, HDR, the evolution to adopt cloud as a service models, all of those really taken individually, any one of those changes has quite significant implications, of course, for our customers, and creates a whole set of challenges and opportunities for the industry. My view is SAM is quite well positioned to assist our customers or target customers in adopting or making the changes necessary across that range of IP, 4K, HDR, cloud, et cetera. So I view it as a very timely opportunity to rejoin the sector because of the major technological shifts going on in the space. The final point I'll mention, which also attracted me to SAM and the sector, simply put, I think there are a lot of companies, technology suppliers in the space with varying degrees of success in terms of profitable, growing businesses. And at least my experience in prior CEO roles, I was part of teams that created significant enterprise value really through a combination of both organic execution, first to market with best-in-class technologies, as I mentioned, but also targeted buy-side M&A where there are opportunities to, as I say, 1 + 1 = 3, put a couple of businesses together that can add incremental value to our target customers. And in this sector, my view is there's plenty of arguably too many companies that have, let's say, relatively narrow scopes of offering and or varying degrees of profitable growth built into their businesses. So simply put, opportunities. Some might argue there's a need for significant industry consolidation in the sector. And my goal for SAM is nothing more or less complicated than to establish SAM as a clear global market share leader in the segments or sectors in which we compete. And again, a global market share leader, you know, you all hear probably more often than I, everybody aspires or already claims the global leadership position. You know, I'm really talking about establishing SAM as a market share leader. In my view today, while, you know, it's difficult to get exact numbers, my view is there really isn't a clear market share or even 2 or 3 clear market share leaders in the sectors in which we compete. So I view it as a quite interesting opportunity for rejoining the media tech sector. And simply put, that's what got me excited, actually very excited about the SAM opportunity. So you'll hear from gentlemen that are much more knowledgeable than I on the specifics. But in short, that's where we are. I will introduce Rob, who is going to talk to you about our LP&I product portfolio, where we are and where we're headed.
We're launching 50 gig and 100 gig products at this show. We have production switches, we have master control switches, we have multi-viewers with 50 and 100 gig interfaces on them now. But more interestingly, I'll talk a bit about some of our customers. So a couple of the big projects we've deployed. So we have deployed in the tens of projects for IP systems now that are live and operational. The biggest ones are on this slide. So RTL City, for the customer RTL, which we delivered with BCE in Luxembourg. Congratulations to them. It's a 40 gig full IP system handling video and audio. It's live 24/7, and it handles all of RTL's 35 channels are put to air with this and produced and routed within their facility. So this is transitioned. So we started transitioning channels in, I think, towards the end of April. All the channels are transitioned over. We're very happy with its performance, and it's working very well. The Timeline truck. So Timeline are great. They're an OB truck operation that operate globally. They operate mostly out of the UK and the Middle East. They came to us and said, look, we want to build a big truck and we want to do it with SDI. And so we sat down with them and they wanted a 4K 32 camera truck. And we concluded with them that you couldn't get what they wanted in a single truck with SDI. So we proposed using our new 25 gig IP technology for them. And we put this truck together with Timeline in about a week. Right? It's absolutely amazing. An SDI truck would be about 4 months. So we put this truck together with them in about a month, 4 weeks. And everything inside it is IP. So it's full 4K, uncompressed HDR truck with 32 cameras. All the audio is routed with IP. All the video is routed with IP. Although 702110 isn't ratified yet, it's based on 702110 technology. They've done about 20 live operations with it. The biggest one they did was the Cardiff UEFA Championships finals, which were done by this truck. But they do regular events every week with this truck, so it's fully operational. They happen to have parked it on our stand, right? So if you have a chance, come round to our stand, have a look. You'll see a full IP truck operating, and it's a really interesting system. Another thing that we did we're very proud of is we worked with Gearhouse and BT Sport and UEFA. This is a project for UEFA where we did a remote production, full 4K IP remote production from a game that was taking place in Poland for the under-21s final, and we pulled 6 Sony cameras worth of content back to the UK over redundant IP links that were handled by Orange and Level 3. And they were brought to a facility in Stratford where we had our production switches and our replay highlight systems and our control systems and multi-viewers and the rest of it, as if they were, so it's a full production facility, but as if they were in Poland, but in Stratford. And the guys who ran this were really pleased with the results. It was ultra low latency, it was a few lines of latency in the transport, and they told us it's just like being at the match. So we think this is one of the really exciting things about the future of IP technology and how we can use this sort of thing for remote production. We have a number of companies we're working with to enable fly-away, lightweight OB operations that use remote productions for second-tier productions that they need to do. That doesn't really warrant sending full OB trucks to. So we're very pleased with that. HDR is a big topic for the show. We have a whole range of support in our products. We have one of the key things is Format Fusion 4 in our production switches. This allows any HDR format to be brought into the production switcher, converted to other HDR formats, mixed, and then converted on the way out to standard def or standard dynamic range outputs or high dynamic range outputs. We think this allows real flexibility within the production environment because we can take standard dynamic range signals in, mix them with high dynamic range signals, take one standard in for cameras and put out a different standard for the main output feeds. If you have to do this with external equipment, it takes up a lot of room in production facilities. We also have a whole load of other products that support HDR conversion, from software-based products for conversion for files and for box conversion for 12 gig HDR support and conversion. So we're launching Alchemist XS here. So Alchemist XS is the next generation of Alchemist frame rates and format converters. This is done all in software on COTS hardware. So this is done with GPU acceleration. It handles real-time 4K inputs at either 12 gig or IP, and it puts out the same frame-rated converted signals at 4K, either quad-link or 12 gig or IP. It also does HDR conversion as well, so you can come out with conversion between HDR formats and back down and up to from SDR to HDR and vice versa. So we're very excited by this. This allows us to do multiple streams of HD at the same time or single streams of 4K. So this is something the industry's been waiting for high-end events, and we're very pleased to be able to be offering it now. The HDR work we've done was used in Cardiff for the UEFA Championship League final. This is an event that we had our timeline truck with, which we covered the timeline with IP, but we also had another operation there. In fact, I think we had, out of all of the trucks there, about 80% of them had our Kahuna production switches in. This is a big event. It's about 200 million viewers worldwide see this. And we did a project with BT Sport to produce the whole of the show in HDR and with virtual reality. So we used our highlighting system to produce virtual reality outputs that were used by BT Sport as well. I think Neil will talk a bit more about that later. So in that operation, we had our converters, we had our production switches, we had our multiviewers. One thing that is becoming more and more important, and it's one of the less sort of sexy topics around broadcast operations, but with IP, with more complex formats and complex operations, and also needing to drive the cost down of operations, control and monitoring is becoming more and more significant. And one of the things that we're showing on our stand is our advances in control and monitoring. You've heard us talk a little bit about media biometrics before. This is a brand new technology that we're deploying widely across our product ranges that allows us to be able to identify media, to make sure the right media is flowing into and out of facilities, that the timing of that media is correct and the signal integrity of that media is correct. So you'll see some demos of that on our stand. We've also, to this arsenal of control and monitoring technologies, we've added logo detection as well. So we've got some really cute technology that will allow the major playout operators to know that their channels are branded correctly. It's quite a difficult problem when you've got a couple of hundred channels you're playing out. Knowing you've got the right logos on the right channels is a real difficulty, and we can do that automatically now. So with media biometrics and logo detection technology, we can automate a lot of the tasks that people need staff resources for. So we believe this helps improve the quality and reduce the costs of the productions. For the 12 gigs becoming real now, we're doing a lot with 12 gig. We've got 12 gig I/O for routers, for production switches. We have a new master control switcher that has for 4K that uses 12 gig SDI inputs. We can take 12 gig into IP as well, so we're launching that at the show. So we've got a whole range of 12 gig distribution and processing and production equipment now. So we'll be showing that, and we think that's really very exciting. For the routing side, we believe there's a place for 12 gig routing below around 200 or 300 square. So we're progressing along the road of launching 12 gig routers. Above that, we're doing this with IP technology.
So I've got just a few products to go through with you, and then I'll close with just some recent announcements about some of the projects that Rob was talking about earlier. So first of all, in our playout area, we've got two really significant introductions to our playout portfolio, and we've been doing. We have the products Morpheus and Ice, which have been doing very well for many years, but the major introduction that we've got at the show, which is a combination of that view there, is a product called Morpheus UX. And this is a completely new approach to user interface for a playout system. So this is, as it says up there, it's an HTML5 thin client, but it is entirely configurable by the end customer to draw a user interface that is relevant to the services that they're delivering. And there's such a wide diversity in service provision now that one size doesn't fit all anymore in terms of the user interface. So if you're in a playout center originating 150 channels, the operator needs a very different control surface to somebody that's doing a single channel with live sports on it that is highly interactive. And Morpheus UX is designed to cope with any scenario. So, small channel counts, high channel counts. And I'm about to flip to a moving image. It's going at 100 miles an hour, but it just gives you a sense of the depth of the product. So when we say configurable, this is the built-in design capability that is, you're not meant to understand what's actually happening. It's just showing you there is incredible depth within this. It's not just about being able to move a couple of windows about in the user interface. You can design a specific user interface directly in the product to meet the exact operational requirements. This is linking in with our control and monitoring, with the media management, and we can get a completely bespoke operational interface for a playout service. So it's hard to articulate without seeing it in action. But it's had a fantastic reception from the customers that have seen it so far, because it allows you to get much more efficiency out of your operators if you can design a user interface that does exactly what they need it to do. The other big thing in the playout area is ICE SDC. So we've shown at a number of shows a capability to originate a broadcast channel from a purely software domain. And ICE SDC is the realization of that. This is now a mature product. So we have implemented a system in the US. It is going live, well, the first 2 channels go live this month. The remaining 148 channels go live over the subsequent 2 months. So we started with a small project, just 150 channels to prove the technology. But that is with a national network in the US, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to tell you who it is. But so it's a very real product, but it's one thing being able to, on that project, this is hosted in a private data center. But we're also looking at public cloud as a hosting option. And part of the issue there is it's one thing to be able to have the functionality that you can run in the cloud, but the reason people want the software versions of these products is the quick deployment. So what we're showing here at the show is a demonstration. This is dashboard where we are creating a full broadcast playout channel on Amazon Web Services, fully automated. So when you come and see the demo on the booth, what will happen is you can type in the name of the channel that you want, and just to prove it's real. So come and give us a weird name that we won't have thought of before. So you type the name of the channel in, and then the green box on the left will show a progress chart which shows all the compute instances being created in Amazon Web Services from scratch. So nothing's pre-running, nothing's pre-configured. So we fire up a load of compute services in Amazon. Then after a little time, we'll start deploying the applications onto those virtual computers. And then you see the charts with the CPU utilization coming up as those applications start coming up. We then configure the applications, and then you'll start seeing the network traffic starting. And then on the multi-view, you'll then see the output of the channel start playing with a graphic, with the text of and the name of the channel in that you've created. So that whole process goes through. And the important thing there is that we can not only manage Amazon in creating that we can configure the product to a level where the channel is being configured, the events within the channel are being configured, and the channel is starting play out. From start to finish, that takes about 7 minutes. So you go from nothing to a fully working broadcast channel playing out. And by full, I mean all that features on that previous slide. So captions, graphics, ancillary data, Nielsen watermarking. It's a fully featured channel. And there's a lot of people talking about cloud origination, but they're basically talking about video playback with a logo. This is a fully featured channel, and we can create it from scratch in 7 minutes, fully automated, and you can see that working on the booth. It's really a major step forward, we think, from what else we're seeing in the industry. So next thing I'd like to talk about is VIVE, which is our news production system, although it has much wider implications than just news, but news is where we're targeting it initially. So VIVE is an amalgamation of a number of our technologies to create a whole new sort of production capability. And what it's really about is addressing the true nature of the multimedia nature of the world today, that content is now originated in many, many formats. So a breaking news story, probably the first video footage that comes in will be coming from mobile phones. And then we will get sort of other amateur footage before the professional cameras get out there. We want to create a single production workflow, so any content coming in, single production, then we can simultaneously put it to any output platform. So again, breaking news, what used to happen was we would the news would break on TV, they'd take the TV output, they would cut it down and put it on the website. It's probably going to break on Twitter first, and then the website, and then it will hit the news broadcast. So the world is changing, but this is designed that you can do one production process, and simultaneously you can hit all those platforms, and the system will work out the video in the right format for the right platform fully automatically in one process. And just to be clear, what we've done is we've taken our entire edit range and condensed it down to a single product called Rio. So this does everything from high-end post through to live news production now in a single product. And really, the huge benefit we had was in the post world, we could deal with any resolution, any aspect ratio, any frame rate. And what you're seeing here is a quick edit where we've got 16:9 content being mixed together on a timeline with footage direct from an iPhone in portrait video, and the system handles it all together on a single timeline. And it will work out frame rates and everything. And when I hit publish, it will publish to the Twitter platform, the Facebook feed, the website, and do a broadcast master. And there's been one creative process. So the efficiencies for a news organisation or sports, it doesn't have to be news, the efficiencies we bring to the process at a whole nother level. And yeah, here's a scary picture. So here's what VIVE actually looks like. So on the left we have our any format in, so any shape, size, flavour of video. We can use generic storage. We have our traditional super fast, for those of you that know Frame Magic, as we call it, TV superhighway at the bottom for normal broadcast video. We have that, still have that unique high performance. Across the middle we have something called VIVE Core, and that's really a PAM workflow tool that is managing and making all the magic happen. And then we have a choice of 3 edit user interfaces now. So we have our own craft editor, Rio, which you just saw on the previous little video clip. We have our Go editor, which is a thin client HTML5 editor, and it's an adaptive application. So if you run it on a laptop, you get a full edit user interface. If you open up the same URL on an iPhone, you get a simplified UI, and a journalist could record a piece of video in the field on a phone, top and tail it, and upload it from their phone direct into the news production system. So that's Go. And we use the Go technology as well. We have a fantastic integration with Adobe now. So there's a lot of demand out in the market to be able to hire talent off the streets or out of college, and they tend to know Adobe these days. So frankly, we add the value in the workflow here. We're open to whatever user interface people want to edit with, whatever tool. So whether it's Adobe or it's our own tools, it really doesn't matter. This is where we add the value. But it means that we can do some really creative remote workflows. We can work locally. And then the important thing on the right is something we call the render engine. So this is the bit where we can automate the creation of all the different versions. So we do one creative process, and then the render engine, think of it like an editor without a user interface under computer control that will create the Facebook version, the Twitter version, etc. And we can automate that process using the VIVE Core management layer. So that's VIVE. Quickly mention Live Touch. So we've been having tremendous success with Live Touch. So just to recap on the USPs, it has great functionality. It is 4K. We've been using it in UHD, real live environments. It is built off our traditional server technology, which means that we can cluster many systems together to operate as a single system. And so I'll just move on now and talk about some of the projects we've been doing. So yesterday at the Sports Video Group Europe Summit, there were some awards, and these are awards not to manufacturers but to the broadcasters for different projects that they've done. And some of the projects Rob's mentioned were nominated. But Formula One management, so they did a presentation about how they migrated their broadcast infrastructure to UHD. Sam was heavily involved in that. So Kahuna switches, Sirius routers, and Live Touch. And the big thing with Live Touch there was their ability to mix and match HD, 4K replays. Any operator can grab any of 60 cameras from around the circuit, and it operates as a sort of a whole integrated system. We didn't pay them, but you would have thought we had when you saw their presentation. It was fantastic. But anyway, so that was one great story. And then here's the UEFA story that Rob told you about earlier, which was the remote IP production for the game in Poland. The UEFA actually won, so nominated for 2 and won 1, so that was good. Then also the UEFA Championships League finals. So as Rob said, heavily involved in that with many operators, with Kahuna switches, etc. UHD and HDR broadcast for that. And then the interesting thing was that the BT Sports did the virtual reality, so they had the 360 virtual reality, and we were actually provided specialised replay functionality. So they had virtual reality replay with 360 look around with slow-mo, etc., and the full replay functionality in the virtual reality environment, and that was done with Live Touch too. So, and BT Sport won this prize. So I think it was really gratifying to have worked with some broadcasters that we feel are doing some really lead, innovative things out in the marketplace, and the technology they chose to achieve that was SAM, which was fantastic.